Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk About Real Estate podcast, the podcast for real estate agents absolutely everywhere. I'm Lisa B, and during this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything real estate. What's working, what's not working, AI, automation, technology, EXP Realty, and absolutely everything to do with real estate. I'll have guest speakers as well, where we'll answer your questions from the Facebook group, Let's Talk About Real Estate. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, make sure you do that now, and we'd be happy to help answering any question. And again, welcome to the show. Rodney Rainsma from FNQ Buyers Agents and also Gold Coast Property Buyers. Thank you very much for joining me this morning.
No, that's okay. And we've sort of, it's been a while since we've had a chat online anyway, but, we've sort of expanded now. So we've got obviously Townsville under our banner, Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, it's all happening.
Yes, they're the two main ones. And yes, like you said,
Correct.
you have different options as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to talk about today is why listing agents need to have relationships with buyers agents, because a lot of them don't even know what you do. So let's start with what you do. Like it might seem obvious, but what does a buyer's agent do?
And listen, it's actually a valid point. When I first started many moons ago now, especially in that Cairns market, dealt with a lot of selling agents, and I think they thought they knew what a buyer's agent was until we started transacting and putting offers forward. And then there was the odd sort of email back saying, "Oh, sorry, Rodney, we're not interested in conjuncting in a purchase or the sale." So I think lots of coffee with lots of agents and educating. So hopefully this will sort of get out there as well. But I guess essentially we exclusively work for the buyer. That's what a buyer's agent is. We help advocate their best interests, and it's not just price and terms and conditions. There's a whole box and dice of what we do for our clients, and the first thing we do is we make sure our clients are qualified and ready to buy. That's the first thing. So, and then we understand what their needs are in terms of what's the right location. Whether it's a suburb, whether it's transport, whether it's a lifestyle, they need to be close to work, or whatever it may be. That's really how we start depicting where we're going to buy for this particular client. Then we start deep diving into those areas and really building out a brief. So essentially, we're the same as real estate agents. We're licensed no different to a real estate agent or a selling agent, as they're commonly called. We just work exclusively for the buyer. That's the difference. It's who we represent.
So that the buyer pays you, not the listing agent, not the vendor. So yeah, it's not a conjunction, as you said. Exactly.
Correct. Yeah. So there's no split with a selling agent or anything like that. We exclusively are engaged and retained by our client, being the buyer.
Okay. Now, listing agents are going to use buyer's agents when it's beneficial for them. Okay. Now, I've come up with some different scenarios, which I believe, because as a listing agent, we don't think about buyer's agents to work with. It's sort of like you're just used to listing and selling. You take care of your buyers. You just don't think about the buyer's agents, right? So I've just come up with a couple of scenarios where listing agents might start to consider your services and the services of buyer's agents, because it's actually going to be beneficial to their clients as well as themselves, right? So the first situation is a seller that won't list a property until they find something to buy. So an listing agent is wanting to list this property. The seller says, "No, until I find something, I'm not getting it on the market." So that agent has got a big wall up. They can't list it. So enter Rodney. The listing agent is not going to want to spend all this time taking the sellers around or whatever. Hence, you can come in then and then help that seller. So what will you do to help that agent get it listed?
So listen, it's very common at the moment. It's very challenging out there to be getting listings right now. You need to be on the ball, need to be passionate, driven, and the likes to get in front of these individuals that are selling. And there's less and less stock available. So, and this scenario is very common. So, how we sort of help there is we'll actually go and source the properties on behalf of your vendor and actually find them the perfect property and help them, settle on that property or on the way to settlement anyway, which will relieve them from I guess selling their property. So yeah, we just will free up time. Yeah, no doubt some of the selling agents out there, they try to help their buyer or their seller as much as they can to buy a property. But I guess ultimately, same with us, we don't really go and buy directly from vendors. We really want to work as selling agents to make sure that transaction's smooth. But it just takes up a lot of time. Like I have, and my team, we have no desire to sell property at all. And most selling agents, they don't want to really act as a buyer's agent either. Their focus is purely getting a listing, doing the right thing, getting a good result for their client, and then moving on to the next one with the signboard out the front. So there's a lot of that going on. So absolutely, we can be, I guess, involved in the space where you can bring us into the mix where we'll actually understand their brief and then we'll actually go and do it. The other thing too is, and we see this quite a lot, is selling agents will go and try and find a property for their client so they can sell it. And then that's quite challenging. A selling agent approaching another selling agent, it doesn't quite sort of come together sometimes. And they think there's a conjunction split and all sorts of things. So, which may be the case. But for us, we're purely independent. We exclusively work for the buyer, and we've got access to obviously probably more property, I'd say, than the average agent because we deal with so many. Yeah.
Off markets and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so the seller then is going to have the confidence that somebody is working for them exclusively to buy a property. So it's very, very focused, driven on what they want. Now, the other situation is a seller that won't sell until they find something. So the agent has got the listing and they've got a buyer on the property, but the seller says, no, I'm not going to sell until I find something. So this can just be somebody, they can still look for a property for their seller. But also too, it's focused. It's like, okay, get a buyer's agent in and then make it, 100%, you're on their, sort of needs 100% of the time to get them something as well. So that way, the last scenario, they're going to get the listing. This scenario, they're going to get the sale.
Yeah. And listen, it is, once again, it's very similar to the first question. The difference, we obviously do a lot of due diligence for the buyer as well. So knowing that they're in safe hands and they're going to buy a property and not a lemon is probably a big thing as well. We look at so many different due diligence pieces that can really add value to the buyer. So that's a big piece of what we do. And what we normally do, if I'm honest, is we will actually invite the selling agent to the settlement date. So when we have our settlement celebration, we'll invite that selling agent that involved us to the party, I guess, and celebrate together. Once again, that just sort of closes the circle because once again, we are not interested in selling property. If they ever go to sell, well, they're going to come back to you, being the selling agent that referred us to help buy the property. So it's just an end-to-end process.
Awesome. Okay, the next scenario is a listing agent that has a great listing. They've got 2, 3, 4, 5 buyers on a property. Only one of them can buy it. So they're going to have 4 qualified buyers. They're going to be really upset they've missed out on a property. Refer them to the buyer's agent. Refer them to somebody and just say, look, I know you missed out. Let's give you extra weight next time. Let's give you extra expertise that you don't miss out, because obviously, there was only one person that could buy it. Let's get you set up with a buyer's agent that can help you. So that's they're motivated buyers. And obviously, industry standard, we have a 20% referral fee. So agents can also be, sort of be rewarded with that as well, whilst looking after the vendor, helping them find a property as well.
Yeah, spot on. And this is very common for us. We obviously get referrals from selling agents and mortgage brokers. They're our best friends and number one referral partners. And exactly to your point, there's so many people walking through, only one party is going to buy that property. So what happens to those other buyers? Yeah, you can sort of, I guess, take them on, try and nurture them to buy other properties that you may get listed, which who knows what that's going to look like, let alone meet their brief and so forth. So they're potentially going to be going somewhere else and not buying for you anyway. So here's a way to, one, get rewarded for obviously referring us. And then secondly, once again, closing that gap and that loop where, we bring you to that celebration. and say thank you very much. You
And
know, if it
helping
wasn't for you,
buyers, yeah.
yeah, that's right. And if it wasn't for the selling agent referring us to the buyer, you know, then they probably wouldn't have purchased something. And then once again, this is a customer for life. A client for life is what it's all about. If they ever go to sell and so forth, they're not going to come to me. I don't sell property. They're going to just come back straight to that buyer, that selling agent that referred us. So it's really important. And we believe in it makes really good business practice and sense to reward, I guess, our referrals. So yeah, we do offer that, which is great. And like we just had a referral last week from an agent and part of your team actually, Lisa, which is great. So yeah, we really obviously work with those. We've got scenarios where there's a particular agent that works in closely with us in terms of referring us people that are missing out all the time, and they actually get sometimes paid more from referral fees than they do in listing and selling that property.
Yeah, that's right. And then you're all working together. That listing agent is still working to find that buyer of property too, as well as yourself. So,
Yeah.
the client. Another situation is an agent that's paying a lot in lead generation. There's a lot of agents that are paying, $2,000-$3,000 a month, if not more, to bring in leads, and they're not nurturing their existing database. So that's something, if a listing agent has a great relationship with a sales agent, then use each other, help each other. And the buyer's agent, if they find a seller in the database, they can do a 20% referral to the listing agent, and vice versa. If they find a buyer in there, they can pay 20% referral to the listing agent as well. So there's those relationships as well, that instead of paying all that money out on lead generation, form a great relationship with a buyer's agent, and and help each other, so
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I think as the scenario goes, and it's not always 100%, but buyers are sellers and sellers are buyers. So, there's always something in that transaction somewhere where, we can help one another, that's for sure.
yeah, perfect. Then the other one is a listing tool. As when you're going into a listing presentation, it's a massive benefit and a massive listing tool if you've got relationships with buyers agents, because as you said, you've got a lot of qualified buyers, and you've got the list of buyers agents kind of around the country and through EXP around the world. So it's a real benefit to go in and say, look, when you list with me as a selling agent, I've got access to a whole lot of buyers agents who have got qualified buyers ready to go now. And that can help you get a listing as well. You've got a lot of off-market sales and all that sort of thing that listing agents are not going to know about, that the average consumer's not going to know about. So, you've got access to a lot more stock that anybody has, really. So that's a real benefit too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing there is uh, with the relationship and I guess sellers, obviously needing to sell and then buy, and it's just a complete circle here. Yeah, so where we can really help in that space is our buyers briefs. Some of the real good agents out there, they're receiving our buyers briefs and they're actually using that to go and prospect and say, hey, here's a buyers agent. Here they are from wherever it may be. Our logos on there, our clients' briefs on there, saying these guys are qualified, ready to buy. If you're interested in selling, we can get a deal done pretty quick because their brief matches your property, and that kind of a thing. So the good agents are really leveraging that brief to
Yeah.
actually get some listings and so forth. So yeah,
So it's like specific target prospecting.
correct.
If you haven't got your own buyers, even if you're just new in real estate, reach out to the buyers agents, reach out to Rodney, especially if you're in Queensland, he's got that covered. Get some buyers briefs, and you're not working for the buyer, you're working for the seller. So in this instance, you get the buyer's brief, but you find the listing, and then you can contact the buyers agents and say, look, what about this for your client? So there's lots of different reasons in why listing agents and buyers agents should be working together, because it is kind of that circle. It's helping the vendor, helping the buyer, it's helping other buyers agents. It's just a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to have those relationships. So if anybody's interested in joining Rodney, particularly, focusing on these, sort of lead generation, if you like, ways for you guys to get business, then contact Rodney. EXP is an amazing platform for buyers agents, and we're really building out these relationships with our agents. So that is really the value. There's lots of different values proposition in EXP, but it's also the those referral partners that we're really building in that collaboration. So anybody that's interested, contact Rodney. If you're looking at buying a property, also contact Rodney as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, spot on. And we get referrals from all over not just the country. Like we just got one last week from Canada, another one from America. So they come through from all over the place. And sometimes they're expats, sometimes they're just brand new moving into the country and just don't know where to start, So yeah, we appreciate anyone that's obviously referring to us. And we don't take everyone on, but we'll do our best to try and accommodate and see if we can work with those individuals. So yeah, feel free to reach out. Happy to have a chat and see how we can work together.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Lisa.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk About Real Estate podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have a question about real estate, then please join the group on Facebook, also called Let's Talk About Real Estate. For those of you who are interested in EXP, please join us at 10 a.m. Brisbane time every Wednesday morning for EXP Explained. Thank you again for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, and see you next week.